Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the meeting of the Lebanon Utility Service Board for Wednesday, October 5th, 2022. Let the record reflect that all board members are present and that we still have one board opening and that this meeting was properly advertised. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first item tonight is the approval of our minutes from our prior meeting on September 21st, 2022. Everyone had a chance to review those minutes? If so, I would entertain a motion to approve.
I make a motion we approve the minutes of September 21st, 2022.
Second.
Motion made by Bill, seconded by Aaron to approve the minutes from September 21st, 2022. Any questions or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, next item is an action item, and it's board secretary appointment. And it looks like that we will be asking Mr. Hudson to replace Mr. Urban as the secretary for the Utility Service Board for the remainder of the 2022 term.
I move to elect Tim Hudson as the secretary of the Utility Service Board for the remainder of the 2022 term.
You know, now thinking back about it, I may have been on a railroad when that discussion occurred.
Any discussion from the
It
board?
was part of me being gone, being on a train, but being railroaded takes another new term.
Let the record reflect, that's the fastest motion Aaron's ever made.
Needs to be seconded.
We have a second, Bill.
Do we have any more board discussion before we second?
We can do discussion after a second.
All right, I second.
All right, any questions, discussion? Tim, your thoughts?
And it's okay.
Well, it's much appreciated, and
It is.
there's no additional discussion on it. We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you, Tim. Okay, next item is an action item as well. Cards Development MOU action item, and I believe Ed will discuss this item.
Yes, thanks. I'd be happy to. I want to start off by describing what this is exactly, this utility relocation engineering cost reimbursement or memorandum of understanding. This is the first type of this item to come before the board for electric. So I want to kind of give you an overview of what we're talking about first. Is by our terms and conditions, when someone asks for a service that goes beyond our terms and conditions, like this could go for underground service or a relocation of a line that is not part of our normal service, the customer is required to reimburse us. And this agreement is worked out based off an estimate that done by our assistant engineer, Josh McKay, who worked closely with the language of this agreement with Jacob to work out how this work would be done. Our own staff would do the work, and there's an amount on there of about $34,000. I say about because it's a construction estimate. They're going to pay the actual amount. And we're not asking the board today to approve an expenditure of $34,000. It's just that the gravity of this expenditure is over my signing limit of $15,000. It's money they're going to pay us. It's important to the board that it being over $15,000 because if somehow we were wrong on that estimate, there could be some, value greater than the $15,000 to us. So, and there, as part of the agreement, let me scroll down to the picture's worth 1,000 words, page 4. There's a, you can see where the line is and where it's being rerouted to. The 14-page agreement, I could answer any questions or read it like.
The phrase that I liked in the agreement was reimburse LU for all costs related to the system relocation. close quotes. So I like the way it was written, Mr. Counsel.
Well, I can't take credit for that, but.
I'm glad you liked that, and,
And I'm glad that there's an agreement to all parties.
yeah, so part of what Ed was just to, you're going to see more and more of these where we have, and we're toying with how to address this as we're growing up on some of these issues. There'll be some additional concepts that are going to be thrown at you in the coming weeks about how to handle these sort of expenses, especially with supply chain issues where transformers are becoming more and more difficult and scarce for us to acquire. So this is, when you want to do something different than what we will typically do, it's going to be on you is the essence of this.
This, question for Jeff. Does this make this a loop then around that area? Is this installation?
Can't talk.
What we're doing is we're rerouting the three-phase line that's existing through the middle of that property where it used to go around the old Holiday Inn.
Right.
We're going around the outskirts of the property. So, yes, it does create a loop system. It ties our central sub and our enterprise sub together.
Good. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Right, any questions or discussion or anything else for Ed on this MOU? Not, I entertain a motion.
I move to approve the electrical facilities utility relocation engineering cost reimbursement agreement with Cardin Associates Athletic Facilities LLC.
Second?
Motion made by Tim, seconded by Bill to approve the electrical facilities utility relocation engineering cost reimbursement agreement with Cardin Association Athletic Facilities LLC. Anything additional? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you, Ed, for that information. Looks like Mr. Greeno is still in place, and he will address the wood chipper bid that we received. Hey, Jeff?
Good afternoon, everyone. As you recall, earlier this year, I brought a item to the board to get approved, a piece of equipment to be declared surplus. The board approved it back in April of this year. The piece of equipment was a 2002 Brush Bandit Model 250 tow-behind wood chipper. We followed all the Indiana code requirements in putting this piece of equipment out for bidding and advertisement. We had only one bid come back to purchase this piece of equipment. It was from a company, Wolf Enterprises LLC, for the dollar amount of $7,006. So what I'd like to ask the board if to approve the bid from Wolf Enterprises for $7,006 to purchase the 2002 Brush Bandit Model 250 tow-behind wood chipper.
Right, thank you, Jeff. Appreciate you getting the bid out there. Any questions for Jeff on this? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I make a motion to accept the bid for the Wolf Enterprises for the purchase amount of $7,006 for the surplus 2002 Bush Bandit Model 250 PWBC tow-behind wood chipper.
Second?
Motion made by Bill, seconded by Tim to approve the bid from Wolf Enterprises for the purchase of the 2002 Brush Bandit Model 250 tow-behind wood chipper in the amount of $7,006. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, anything else, Jeff? Anything exciting going on lately? Looks like your only appearance at the podium tonight, so I thought I'd ask.
That'll be it for now.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it should be noted, I think, I don't know if Ed was going to notice at the end of the meeting that we had a couple of employees down in Florida helping out restore electric power, so.
Yeah, I was going to ask Ed at other business later
Okay,
to
good.
talk about that.
Okay, good.
Pretty big deal.
Sure. Be glad to.
Okay. All right, jump to Ryan Eidinger here on our next item. This is the Reese Park Lift Station Supplemental Agreement Number 2. Hey, Ryan.
Good evening, and Tim, I'd like to thank you for being voluntold for your position while you're on vacation. We appreciate your service on that. This request is for Reese Park Lift Station Supplemental Agreement Number 2, and this will allow for right-of-way purchases for the future Phase 2 part of the Reese Park Lift Station project, but it would also allow for us to get a head start on that. There is, could be some issues with how long some of these take, and we want to make sure we're ahead of all acquisitions and right-of-way purchases before we obviously do any work in the ground. So this would allow us to start this project or this phase supplemental agreement now, as opposed to waiting till springtime or until we have an approved Phase 2. And no matter what direction we go in Phase 2, this will be, these purchases will be necessary in any improvements that we want to make on this collection line. So the work will be required and necessary no matter what the timing is. So this will allow us to kind of get a head start on Phase 2 and make a smooth transition into Phase 2 when Phase 1's completely buttoned up. So I can answer any questions on that. We also have John Leitner from BF&S here that can answer some of the questions as far as the engineering or how the purchase process goes.
All right, thank you, Ryan. I know this Phase 2 is another important part of our project. Of course, the lift station in progress, so appreciate all your work on this. Any questions for Ryan or John on this supplemental agreement? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the Reese Park Supplemental Agreement Number 2 with Butler, Fairman, and Seifert, Inc. for the Reese Park Lift Station for a total of $74,845, increasing the total from $452,300 to a total not to exceed $527,145.
Second.
Motion made by Aaron, seconded by Tim to approve supplemental agreement number 2 with BF&S for the Reese Park Lift Station for a total of $74,845, increasing the total from $452,300 to $527,145. Any additional discussion?
If I recall correctly, we anticipate Phase 2 taking care of 3 of our outstanding sanitary sewer overflow situations?
Potentially, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. When Phase 2 is completed, along with the improvements made on Phase 1, potentially that we could correct those issues. Also, some exposed creek crossings that are in the area. Also, those will be dealt with, and so there's a lot of good things that will come with the completion of Phase 2.
Quick correction, Phase 1 will get 3 of them. I believe Phase 2 will get 4, actually. Eliminate, or mitigate 4.
Yeah,
Appreciate that pleasant correction.
I thought we had 7 total, so that's great. All righty, guys, motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All righty, Ryan, looks like you're staying put for a second for the business park system evaluation.
Yes, we recently met with the city, and we got a size evaluation of where they think the footprint for the Lebanon Business Park will kind of end up being, and also the properties that they want us to evaluate as far as a new lift station to serve the business park. So this is what this agenda item will help us do. We can go through and we can assign, we have some vacant parcels that we will go through and talk to the city about possible future development, so we can assign an EDU value or a gallons value to that. And based on that and the current system the current EDUs in the system and potential expansion of the businesses already within this footprint, we can come up with what we need as far as an appropriate lift station size. You know, we don't want it to be 10,000 EDUs over what it's going to be at its finished product, but we also don't want it to be under and have to come back in 7 or 8 years and do this whole thing again. We want to try to get it right on the first time, and this evaluation will be the first step in that process. So that's what this would encompass, is just an evaluation with BF&S and some meetings with the city to make sure that we are putting all the data we need in to get the correct EDU estimate for any future use, and to make sure we size this lift station and the collection lines in the lift station correctly.
Ryan, what sort of detail is the city providing? There's a lot of difference between a bottling plant and a distribution warehouse.
So what they provided us is, and we had a great meeting with them on basically where they want the border of what they would consider from this basin feeding into this lift station. So we have a geographical outline, but there are a few, that we do know that some of the current businesses have bought adjacent properties. Right. So we're able to contact them and say, hey, is this going to be for food service lines or a bottle watering, or is it going to be one big warehouse right. where you store your product? That gives us an idea also. But some of them are just open for business. So what we kind of have to do is have a, not a guess, but a data-driven evaluation on potential. We don't want to put one and hope it's a warehouse, but we don't want to put 50 and it end up being a warehouse. So we're going to work with them on any potential leads that they've reached out to, or vice versa. Any businesses that have reached out to them and have some interest in that area that would have building square footage wise that would fit into the properties, because I think that's probably why some of the properties are vacant. They may have a footprint issue with logistics, or where they are compared to the railway, or some issues in that situation. So some of them we're going to have to make an educated decision on, but we're going to work with them. We're going to work with Molly about any leads that she might have, or any considerations for certain properties that she might have, to make sure we have all the information before we plug these numbers in. And then it will be sized accordingly to where if we put 15 EDUs on this spot and it's 20, we'll have that leeway. We don't want to have 500% leeway.
This is John's question.
Perfect.
So, John, in our estimate here, is this to come up with an answer, or to give this board not a plethora, multiple options that say, look, here's what we see. If you want a 25% increase, this is what it is, and the cost is going to increase by X. If you want a 50% increase, I'd like to see a range of that instead of saying, hey, we think a 24-inch line is the most appropriate, whatever that.
That's the idea. Multiple alternatives on what we're going to do, and really the lift station size itself will be something, but what that drives in is the size of the force main and where the force main can outlet.
Right.
So there's a big difference if we have to take the force main all the way up to the wastewater treatment plant, or if we can find another spot in the system to outlet it that is not as far, but still has adequate capacity to accommodate whatever flows that we're projecting to put in there.
Right.
So
Okay.
that's the idea. A couple different alternatives that, as Ryan put it pretty well on, some of it is going to be educated guessing on, the spec building, the cities, we've talked there, but some of the different requests we've gotten range from anywhere between, like he said, a warehouse that's 1 EDU, and then you have a 500 EDU food manufacturer like Ken's. So we're all going to have to kind of sit down and make sure that we're all comfortable that what we size is correct. And we're also talking, I think one thing we haven't mentioned is expansions of existing facilities. Right. So we've already had some of those talks with some of those existing folks as well.
Right. Okay, good, thank you.
But I guess one thing to add, and a big piece, is we were able to work out with the city what the geographic footprint of the business park would be, because in the original comp plan, it was going to be something like double the size it is now. Then we had discussions where it was going to be about the same size and just use existing people's expansions, but right now it's somewhere in between. There's some areas they're looking to expand to and some growth of current customers, but it's still an educated guess.
And in that meeting, it was city planning, city engineering, the mayor, Ed and myself, and Neil, I think, were you in that one?
Neil was the one with the RDC.
Aaron was, I know.
And
I knew somebody would raise their hand eventually. And then Dick Robertson was there, kind of as a council member and a RDC member. So the geographical footprint was really a huge component to this, because with it being able to just say, well, there's no limit to where this can expand, it would be virtually impossible to be able to say, we're confident with bringing these options to the board. So when the city provided us that helps a lot. And even though there will be some numbers we don't know, at least we know with the footprint, that we want to serve this lift station has kind of been set by the city. So we're not guessing, and they're not frustrated with where we are compared to where they are. So it was that geographical map is a great start for us.
Yeah, and Neil was at that meeting with the RDC, and that brings up something I should probably mention, that with our availability fees being passed, including the full cost of the full guesstimated cost, we haven't have the full cost until this study's done of the lift station. The intent is we pay for that with availability fees. At least that's what the city's position is.
I see, and I want to dovetail on that with a differing opinion. This is going to bring up a very interesting public policy matter about whether a lift station enlargement that benefits just the business park should be paid for by the business park through the TIF district, or paid for by existing ratepayers throughout the city. And with the card development field house progressing forward, there's every indication that there will be significant money available going forward in the TIF district that can be used to pay for the enlargement of the lift station for the benefit of just the business park. So we have an interesting public policy opportunity going forward as to who is the proper payer for the expansion of the business park lift station.
One other point I wanted to make really quick is, you'll notice that it's a business park wastewater system evaluation and not just a business park lift station, because the lines coming to the lift station area where it currently is now are all 12-inch, and we need to evaluate and make sure that those are also sized properly. So it might be a bigger project that is recommended than just the lift station. There's other components to it too, or you can use and say, we're not upgrading any of those 12-inch lines. That can be a limiting factor on what businesses could fit into those lines, or a way to kind of limit that if so choose. But there's going to be more than just, hey, here's the size of the lift station, here's a cost estimate. There's going to be a lot more to that evaluation.
And to Tim's point, so with the evaluation, we will have a lift station scenarios, and then we'll also have collection system. So we will know, like John said, do we want to just focus on the lift station? Do we want to focus on the lift station and the collection line? And it won't be an all or nothing. We can, as a board, figure out what direction we want to go and where our funds are best spent. So we'll have that kind of broke down to where it's not like you said, here's the option, take it or leave it type situation. We're going to try to present as many options as possible.
All right, thanks, Ryan. Anything else for Ryan? Questions for Ryan or John on this item? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I move to approve the Lebanon Business Park wastewater collection system evaluation with Butler, Fairman, and Seifert in an amount not to exceed $17,500.
Second. Motion made by Aaron, seconded by Tim to approve the Lebanon Business Park wastewater collection system evaluation with BF&S in an amount not to exceed $17,500. Any additional questions or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All righty, thank you, Ryan. I know you're staying put for a second for a retroactive approval request for an urgent repair at the Whit Road water main.
Yes, sir. This is number 3 out of 5. I think 5 is a personal best for me on the agenda. Not looking to break that anytime soon, but I appreciate everyone's patience in this. This is a retroactive request. We know the challenges that we've had at the Whit Road Bridge project, and right now it is valved off on both sides of that bridge replacement. And in order to ensure that we can have some redundancy in that area and we can have a water loop in that area, we have started a water main replacement and have contracted HIS contractors to install the water main with subsequent pressure testing and bacteria testing and all that being under supervision and protocol of Lebanon Utilities, by Lebanon Utilities, or a contractor of our choosing. HIS is just doing the construction portion of this. And so this retroactive approval would be for the estimated time and material cost that HIS provided us in their documentation. And like I said, that main is going in. I don't know if it's as we speak, but it was in progress today and started on Monday. So hoping to be finished by the end of the week. Estimated time completion is tomorrow. So I can answer any questions on that. And like I said, this is a matter, we see it as a utility, as a matter of public health issue, to ensure that if there is a main break, that we can continue to provide the same amount of water, same amount of pressure, and current ratepayers and users don't see any dip in what they're used to at their house, despite any issues we might have.
It's probably worth mentioning, in case there's any TV viewers, that with the Whit Road Bridge project, this isn't really the cause for the delay of the Whit Road Bridge project. This might add 2 days to it at most. Is that fair estimate?
Yes, and as far as their scheduling goes and their concrete work and work like that, it was able to stay on schedule. So, but HIS was nice enough to, and the city was nice enough to work with us on this and make sure that we could get this done in a timely manner with the creek already being rerouted for the bridge project. We were able to take advantage of that in the style of installation that we used. And so that was a big benefit for us. And HIS is doing us a favor in helping us out with this project. So we do appreciate that.
All right, Ryan, thank you. Any questions for Ryan? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I make a motion to move to actively approve the emergency repair for the water main replacement with HIS contractors for the Whit Road Bridge project in the amount of $27,514.66.
Second.
Motion made by Bill, seconded by Tim to retroactively approve the emergency repair for the water main replacement, the Whit Road Bridge project with HIS contractors, an amount of $27,514.66. Anything additional? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, Ryan, you're hanging in there.
Okay, the next thing I have, these are basically the same 2 items, but one is for water and one is for wastewater. So they are 2 agenda items, but the process is exactly the same for both. These agenda items are to update the current wastewater and water capital improvement plan. This is normally a every other year, or every 2-year project for us. The water was last updated in August of 2021, so in every other year we would be due in 2023. The wastewater was updated in July of 2022. However, with the substantial growth that we have seen and potential future growth, we've discussed internally between Ed and Sandra and John Leitner and myself and John Brand that an 18 to 20-month-old CIP may not be the best to be working off of. So if we can, in the future, do it every year. Now, obviously, it's a year-to-year process. So if 5, 6, 7 years down the road, growth is at a snail's pace, and we think every 2 years is an appropriate time, we can absolutely go back to that. But I really think that with the growth that we not only are seeing, but we could potentially see in the next 3, 5, 7, 10 years, a yearly update on this is critical. And timing-wise, the reason I'm bringing it now, and even though the completion date is not till spring of 2023, I really want it to coincide with budget season. I think that if we're going to go through the CIP and update or add or subtract large projects, large dollar figures, and large infrastructure projects, that obviously it needs to coincide with our 5-year budget plan, and it needs to coincide with next year's budget, if anything needs to be added or subtracted to that. So I think that they kind of go hand in hand, and I'd like to treat it as such. And then we'll have a new CIP on the book for early April, which will coincide when construction and building really starts to pick up. So we have a game plan on that. This is a pretty extensive process also. We have numerous meetings with not only city engineering and city planning, but also our staff members. The team members that are out there every day, and they see, we may be able to see some bigger picture concerns or bigger picture projects that we see coming in, but we also want to make sure we address the day-to-day. We also want to make sure we're addressing aging infrastructure and upgrading that in a timely manner, being proactive with that and not waiting until something breaks, but getting ahead of that. So with our hazard rankings and the staff input, we're able to combine both of those and do big picture, long-term projects, but also day-to-day upgrades. On the wastewater treatment, or the wastewater CIP from last year that was just completed, you'll see that we wanted to upgrade our lift station control boxes, and we've been doing that, and that's not something I deal with on a daily basis. So without the staff input that these are antiquated and outdated and we can upgrade them and have a safer model and a better blueprint, I wouldn't have known that. But with having meetings with them and having their input, we were able to prioritize that and make it a budget priority and a project priority. So little things like that make a big difference. And like I said, they're seeing it every day, and they're the ones who keep everything running and keep it running safely in a healthy way. So their input's vital. So it is a process, but it's a good process. Then I plan on doing it, finishing it up. Similar to last time, we will have a separate working session where we can go through the whole thing. Then we can, if the board is good with the CIP, we'll meet with city officials and make sure that it coincides with everything that they need and their future plans as much as we can. And that'll be our blueprint of what we go off of for the next calendar year until we make another upgrade. And I can answer any questions on that process, and obviously John Leitner can too, as BF&S is an integral part of that process.
Right, Ryan, any questions for Ryan on either the water or wastewater CIP process? Looks like we have two different motions here, so we'll first entertain motions for the water capital improvement plan.
I move to approve the 2023 Water Capital Improvement Plan update with Butler, Fairman, and Seifert for an amount not to exceed $16,500.
Second.
Motion made by Tim, seconded by Bill, to approve the 2023 Water Capital Improvement Plan update with BF&S for an amount not to exceed $16,500. Any additional questions or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, then we have another motion here, same thing for water and, for wastewater.
I move to approve the 2023 wastewater capital improvement plan update with Butler, Fairman, and Seifert, Inc. for an amount not to exceed $16,500.
Second.
Motion made by Aaron, seconded by Bill to approve the 2023 wastewater capital improvement plan update with BF&S for an amount not to exceed $16,500. Additional questions or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you, Ryan, appreciate your work.
Thanks, everyone.
Next item is approval of our claims, payroll, and transfers dated October 5th, 2022. Everyone had a chance to review those items, and if so, entertain a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve claims payroll transfers dated October the 5th, 2022, in the amount of $422,592.33 for claims and payroll, and $162,527 for transfers.
Second.
Motion made by Bill, seconded by Aaron to approve the claims, payrolls, and transfers dated October 5th, 2022. Any additional discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, next item is other business, and I'd like to ask our general manager to speak about a couple of linemen that we have had recently travel to Florida to assist in the hurricane disaster down there and repair, and I believe they're on their way back, but Ed, I'll let you speak to that.
Yes, thank you. I'd be glad to. Last week, on the 26th, Dwayne Richardson, the executive director of IMEA, contacted Jeff Greeno and said they have Hurricane Ian, they need mutual aid support because we have a mutual aid agreement with IMEA and other like organizations to help out during a natural disaster. And Jeff called me, but by the 27th, we had a crew we sent down there. We sent Jeff McNew and Chris Bohannon. Jeff McNew's a lineman and Chris Bohannon's a lineman apprentice. They left Thursday on the 27th, and they've been down there helping and ever since. They're on the way back. But by coincidence, I guess, they were helping in New Smyrna Utilities, and that's the same area where a relative of Mayor Gentry was, and they saw him, and they ended up taking him out to dinner. There's some nice pictures on our Facebook site if you'll see that. It's just one of those things that happen, small world, but they really helping out the community, and really shout out those guys. We appreciate them, and we have other reasons to appreciate them too, because one thing that you may remember in the last board meeting is Jeff Greeno mentioned that we were competing in the lineman rodeo. Now, lineman rodeo, it's a very physical job they do, and a lot of physical type jobs that these guys, they hone their skills by competition. Just like Warriors football came from Warriors fighting each other. Firemen, they do their races as far as assembling into their equipment. The linemen have their types of equipment, and we actually did fairly well. We competed against 6 other journeyman teams and 13 other apprentices, and Zach Phillips is one of our apprentices, and he got 3rd place in the written test, 2nd place in the arrestor changeout, and 3rd place in the overall apprentice division. And he's to be applauded. That's great. And journeyman linemen Jeff McNew, Kyle Catron, and Dustin Shirley, they got 1st place in the transformer changeout. So I expect things to go very quickly here in Lebanon because they can change those transformers out very quickly. And they got 3rd place in the hurt man rescue. So we've got a young crew, a good crew, and we very much appreciate our linemen, and we appreciate the job Jeff Greeno is doing with them. And it's just very, very positive, and we're just very happy to have those guys. That's the main
Good
thing.
stuff. Thank you, Ed. Yes, kudos to those guys for their success at the rodeo, and of course their assistance down in Florida. Pretty important. So, and pretty dangerous working down there in those conditions. So I'm glad they're making it back and worked out really well. Anyone else have anything on the board, for the board? Public.
I guess
Go ahead.
one more
Yep.
thing. Just we talked about Whit Road. Our distribution crew headed up by Bob Akers. They've been out there on Whit Road, making sure everything goes right from the utility perspective, and a difficult and tight project. And I just want to say kudos to them, to both the Chads and Bob. So
Absolutely.
thanks, guys.
It's been a tough project as well. Anything else from the board? Anything from the public, Ed, that you're aware of?
No, sir.
All right, looks like our next meeting scheduled for the 19th of October, 5 p.m. If If there is nothing else, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Motion made by Bill, seconded by Tim to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you, everyone. We stand adjourned.